Hello, I'm Brian Esser from How to Automotive, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to install 1.5-inch wheel spacers on your JK Jeep Wrangler, so stay tuned for that. So I'm using the AA ignition 1.5-inch wheel spacers. I got this off of Amazon. I will link this up in the description of the video. So this is a high quality solid aluminum with anodized coating to protect it from corrosion and stuff like that, and it has really good quality hardware, and it comes with all the lug nuts and everything you need to install this. So this kit comes with everything you need to install it, including detailed instructions. Tool wise, you're just going to need a good quality jack and a jack stand to jack the vehicle up and get the tire off, and then to make sure you're safe, so use a jack stand. Other than that, you're just going to need a torque wrench. You're going to need some type of wire brush to clean the hub, and then the socket for my Jeep is a 19mm or a 3/4 inch socket. You're going to need that, and something to take the tire off. So I'm using an impact gun, but if you have a breaker bar or something like that, you'll need that. And I also recommend you pick up a little bit of thread locker, either Loctite brand or Permatex brand thread locker. And I'm going to use my little tool here to clean around the wheel studs and everything, and I'll show you that. And that's pretty much it. You'll also will need a pair of side cutters and maybe a screwdriver to do this job. Other than that, you don't need any other special tools. It's pretty simple. I would rate this as a just about anybody could do this job. So the biggest reason why you would want to add wheel spacers to a vehicle like this is you want to add bigger rims and tires, and if you buy rims, you may or may not get the correct offset, and if you do, you're going to rub on the fenders or on the suspension parts on the inside, so you want to push the wheel out. This has what they call negative back spacing, so the factory wheels on Jeeps have negative back spacing, and when you start putting 35, 37s and bigger tires, it's definitely going to rub on the inside of the suspension, so you want to push the wheel out. And one of the easiest way to do that is with wheel spacers. If you don't want to do wheel spacers, then you'll have to replace the wheels, and then it adds a lot more cost, and then you'll have to have the positive offset. So this is a quick and easy way to put bigger tires and wheels on your vehicle without rubbing on the inside suspension, and just making life easy. Now, there was a lot of horror stories with wheel spacers in the past, but with these new design, hub-centric, which means that this portion of it here mounts on the hub here. I'll show you that when we get the wheel off, and it centers everything up and keeps everything nice and sturdy. That's where the safety comes in. So I'll show you that in just a second. For right now, we're going to jack this vehicle up. I'm going to jack it up here on the front suspension here by the differential. Jack it up. Use a jack stand underneath the suspension to support it. Take the wheel off. So I just placed my floor jack right here underneath the radius arm, or the lower control arm right there, and jacked it up until the vehicle is the wheel is just off the ground. If you're doing this with an impact tool to take the wheels off, you want to loosen your lug nuts prior to jacking the vehicle off the ground. If you're doing it with an impact gun like I am, go ahead and jack it up. For safety, I went ahead and just put the jack stand underneath the frame here. That way, if something should fall, it'll land on the jack stand here, and the vehicle won't fall away and land on us. I'll leave the jack underneath here the whole time while I'm doing this, though. Now, yours may have these little keepers on it. If it's a different model, like a JL model, they'll have a set screw. But on the JKs, they have these little clips here that they basically are on there for when they manufacture the Jeep. They put these on here, put the rotors on, put these little clips on here, and kind of held everything together while they assembled everything. This is not needed anymore, so I'm just using a pair of side cutters and just take it and discard that. So there's two of them on this particular one. Now, the next step is if your vehicle is like back east somewhere or something, or it's been in a lot of water, there may be rust and corrosion. So that's where tools like the wire brush will come in handy. So you'll want to scrub the hubs here and the face of the rotor here and get any corrosion or rust or anything like that off, and just make it so when the spacer mounts on there is nice and clean, and it fits nice and flush. You don't have any vibrations or warps or anything like that. So you just want to spend a couple minutes. Mine's really not that bad, just a little bit of surface rust on it. If you have a tool like this, this goes over the lug nuts. It can clean the hub, make it nice and speed things right up. You can use wire brushes on a drill. If you have those work really well too. Once you get that cleaned up, now what you're going to do is I recommend you use a little bit of thread locker. So I'm just going to put a few little dabs of thread locker on each one of these. I mean, just a little bit. You don't need a lot. Now we can take our spacer and mount it on. Obviously, you want to check to make sure that this is the right spacer. I've already mounted them on the opposite side. The quickest way to do that is to throw it on here, make sure it fits on there nice and smooth. The hub, everything fits onto the hub here. There's no side-to-side play once you mount it on there like this. And then you want to do the same thing, mount it on the back of your wheel, make sure your studs and everything line up. That way you know you got the right product. If you have the wrong lug nut spacing and stuff like that, then you will know you won't go through any extra work here. So we're going to throw these on, spin them on. So you'll notice I'm using a chrome socket and not an impact socket because the impact sockets are a lot thicker and won't fit into the spacer hub here. That's why I'm using a chrome socket. So you're going to need one of those. They're a lot thinner and they'll go right in. So I'm just running these in so they're snug. I'm not torquing them down or anything with the impact tool. We're going to torque this down. Now we're going to torque this down by hand. So when you go to do this, this is going to want to spin. So you got a couple options. You can take a screwdriver and stick it in the vanes of the rotor like this, and then rotate it around until it wedges against the caliper here. Now you can torque it down, or you can have somebody get inside the vehicle and hold the brake. Then you can torque it down. I've also, I think if you put it in forward low, that will also hold it as well. So when you go to torque these down, depending on what brand of these you get, the torquing pattern may be different. So on this particular one, they want us to torque it down in 3 steps. So they want the first step to be at 30 foot-pounds. So they want us to torque it. I'm going to put my screwdriver in there, wedge it. They want us to torque it down at 30 foot-pounds in a star pattern. So you're going to do a star pattern here. This is not the best angle to do it, but I'm doing this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Now they want you to switch the torque wrench and jump it up to 60 foot-pounds. So jump it up to 60 foot-pounds. Like that. Then they want you to do it in a third one at 90 foot-pounds. So I'm setting my torque wrench to 90 foot-pounds here. Okay, now the spacer is torqued to the wheel. Go ahead and remove your device that locked it in place. It's out of the way. Now we're ready to go ahead and put the tire back on. This is walk it into place. Then that way all we have to do is lift maybe a 1/4 inch or so. Like so. Now we can start our lug nuts. I'm just going to run them into the snug and then we'll torque them down by hand. Now when it comes to the final torque, now that the wheel's snug, we can go ahead and lower the jack and jack stand. So I'm going to go ahead and pop the jack stand out. I'll go ahead and lower the jack down, put it on the weight of the vehicle. Now I'm going to go ahead and torque the wheel down. So we're going to torque it down to the factory specs on your Jeep. So depending on what type of Jeep you have, or if you have custom wheels, the torque specs may vary. On this particular one, it's 122 foot-pounds of torque, so I'm going to go ahead and torque these down in a star pattern. So the rear of the vehicle is pretty much the same exact process. I got my jack stand over here on the frame, and then right here, I went through the back here. And the pumpkin, I went ahead and jacked it up right there until the wheel's off the ground. I'm gonna, like I said, if you're gonna do this at home with a breaker bar, loosen up the lug nuts before putting the wheel off the ground. The only other thing you want to do, go ahead and put the park brake on. That should hold the wheels, everything steady while you torque everything down. Mine's a manual, so I definitely have to put the park brake on. So this whole process is about 10 or 15 minutes per wheel. So maybe about an hour to do this entire job. Right here I got a time lapse of doing the rear, and you can really see it's really not that much involved in doing this particular job. This is definitely a do-it-yourselfer job, and also a very cool first modification to your vehicle. So here's a final look of before the wheel spacers. As you can see, the wheels are tucked up in the fenders, and then with after, you see the wheel sticks out about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch or so out of the fender well. It has that untucked look. It's a much better look as well as functional. So that was a pretty simple install. If you need to pick a set of these up for your JK Wrangler, I will leave a link for it down in the description of the video. I'm Brian from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Encourage you to subscribe. Invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. Thank you again for watching.